Hey guys, welcome back to the Second Time Lucky Mining channel. In today's video, we are in for a treat. Managed to get our first guest on the channel, and it's the Hobbyist Miner. It probably doesn't need any introduction, but the Hobbyist, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm the Hobbyist Miner. I am a content creator and also home crypto miner.
Awesome, awesome. Now, the Hobbyist, before we jump into all of the crypto mining stuff, I thought let's jump into a little bit more, I wouldn't say personal, but your background in IT and how you get started. I find that interesting. Maybe not the audience as much, but I like to look at that stuff. So when exactly did you start mining again?
Sure. So I started 2 years ago, February. I actually started 2 Februarys ago, to be perfectly honest with you. So it was February of 2020.
February of 2020. Do you still remember the
Yep.
Ethereum price at that specific point in time?
I don't remember the price. I mean, I was so young and naive. I wasn't even mining Ethereum when I got started. So I don't recall what it was back in 2020 then. But it
Okay.
was it was the ideal time because I remember getting into it, and like it was like the great gold rush. It was like everybody and their brother was getting into mining at that time. So I was just another home crypto miner that was like, oh, I'm gonna do this.
Awesome. Yeah, it's the best feeling getting sucked into all of the hype.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get into the hype and then where we are now, do you still remember your first computer that you got?
Oh, well, first computer was years ago. It was actually a Hewlett Packard. Was my first computer with Windows 95. So that was my first computer that I owned. But I would say the first computer that I built was probably in college to play Counter-Strike. That was like my first like computer that I built.
Now, to play Counter-Strike, was it CSGO? Was it 1.6
I
or
I
Source?
think it was 1.6. It was
Okay.
1.6 then. I did start with 1.5, but at that point it was 1.6. And that was the same time as like Warcraft had come out for their RPG, and StarCraft. I think it was the original StarCraft still then that I was playing. So it was a lot of those like originals, like Diablo 2 then, stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I played a fair amount of Counter-Strike back in the day, and one of my all-time
Yep.
favorites is, Warcraft. I was a big fan of Warcraft
Hmm.
3. Well, that's how I started into computers.
Yeah.
I visit friends, they had a computer, and they were playing Warcraft 1 at the time, and I was hooked.
Oh, wow.
Hooked from
You're
there.
hooked. Yeah.
I just wanted to play all the time. So, nevertheless, every weekend I was there until I got my own computer. So,
Yeah,
um,
RPGs were always my jam. I remember playing like Age of Empire back then and stuff like that. Like all those strategy-based games were right up my alley.
Oh, you should let me know. I'm big into Age of Empires 4 at the moment. So
Oh, there you go. Nice.
now, talking of the computers, do you still remember your first GPU?
Oh, I don't remember the first GPU I bought for gaming
Okay.
here years ago, but I would say my first mining GPU, and I might be jumping the gun here, but my first mining GPU was a MSI 970. Was
970.
the I bought, and that was literally back like
Ah,
2 years ago. It was a 970 4 gig. It was on Ravencoin that I did it on, and I was the most excited little kid in the world. And that was literally outdated then, but it did like I think it was 5 or 6 mega hash on each card, and I owned them for a week. I'm not gonna lie, I bought two of them, and I bought them for $100 each. I owned them for a week and I mined with them, and I was like, all right, I'm going to sell them. I made double my money. It was like the perfect time. Like GPUs were just skyrocketing, doubled my money. And then I went and bought 12 RX 470s, 4 gig cards.
so the 970 sold you then. That was like I'm
Oh,
into this.
yeah. And it was really funny because then I still had my GPU that I have in my editing and gaming rig now, which is a 2080 Super. So like I
Okay.
still had like a decent GPU in that rig, but I was like, I'm not touching that for mining. I'm like, that's my editing and gaming rig. So yeah, it was that MSI 970, black and
Black
red
and
one.
red. It's got the red accents. I think
Yep.
on the second fan or the first one. I can't remember. I had a 960.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
remember
it's got
I
the
had a
little dragon. Yep.
yeah. It's got the heat pipes coming out the top, if I
Yep.
remember it correctly. I think
Yeah.
actually on your background in one of your videos, Actually, on the round
Mhm,
table, there's the image at the
mhm,
bottom. But
mhm.
I might be wrong. But anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the last non-mining related question.
Okay.
Favorite game? So you said RPG.
Favorite game of all time is StarCraft.
Okay.
I played the original StarCraft for years. I remember in middle school, a lot of the like custom maps and stuff like that, like the
Okay.
Matrix maps were like my jam. Like I'd play it till like the wee hours of the morning. When I was in like middle school and high school, it was always like my go-to late at night. And then StarCraft 2 came out, and that's when I really started to play more like PvP competitive,
Okay.
like one-on-one. And the highest I got there was diamond in singles. So I really got into it and really enjoyed it, and I still enjoy playing it today.
Awesome. Now that begs the question: 1v1 DJ Mines?
I have 1v1 DJ Mines. He is definitely better than I am. He's definitely a Masters player, and he will beat me. I'd say 9 out of 10 times. Every once in a while, I get a game off of him, but he'll beat me 9 out of 10 times.
Okay, no, that's good. I've seen Hawk practicing as well, so it seems like
Oh yeah, there you go.
that is the thing to play these days.
It is. It is. Yeah, we'll rope in Red Panda Mining too, and we'll
Okay,
play little 1v1s and stuff. Yeah, so we get some good games going.
awesome. All right, so now back to mining and the bear market specifically. So, what are you mining at this specific point in time?
A little bit of everything, to be honest with you. So I have Ethereum being converted to BTC with 2 miners. I don't have any straight up Ethereum, so I'm not getting paid out in any
Okay,
Ethereum. It's just that don't believe in the project, to be
okay,
honest with you, and I believe Bitcoin's going to go the mile for me. So outside of that, Ethereum Classic, Ergo, and Flux. So those are kind of like my three horsemen that I believe will have some legs to them once proof of stake occurs. Outside of that, I have quite a number of Dogecoin miners and Litecoin miners, mini pro miners in there. Trying to think what else is in there. And then I got like a Starcoin miner and a handshake miner, all those mini ASIC garbage coins that like they're like crazy. Um, but I think that's it kind of going through my roster there. So I have a little bit, I'd say a little bit of everything, but it's really about
Mm.
I'd say the top 5 or 6 coins right now that are kind of in high demand.
And you're not making any sacrifices. And what I mean by that is the best GPU for that specific coin. That's the one that you've got on that. A good example of that. I mean,
Um,
on Flux, is it? I would
yeah,
imagine your Nvidia cards and no AMD cards, and then the same type of splits,
yep.
right?
Yeah. So I definitely have like my 3000 series cards on Flux because they
Okay.
do better on Flux. I have some of my 6600s. I have 2 rigs of those, and some of those are on ETH to BTC right now. But I do have some rigs that are purely not profitable that are mining like Ergo. Like I have an 8 GPU 570 rig.
Okay.
Like that's not profitable to it's not profitable to run, but
Okay.
I run it anyway into Ergo. I got 8 580s that I have all on Ergo as well. Those AMD Polaris cards
Yeah.
are like great on them set up there. And then my 470s, I still have my original 12 470s in an Octominer case, and they're running Ethereum Classic.
Okay.
So I have those on Ethereum Classic. I got a Jazz Miner. I got a few iPolos. All of those are all on Ethereum Classic as well. So
Okay.
a little bit of diversity there. So I am
Okay.
sacrificing we'll say profitability when
Yes.
really you shouldn't have them running at all.
Yes.
For me, it's more speculative mining for the future.
Okay. And that's the that strategy that you were talking about. That's what you're gonna do until
Yeah.
proof of stake, because I guess all miners have
Mhm.
got that date that they keep on kicking the can down the road. Is that the plan up until then, and then reassess, or
Mm.
do you want to just keep on doing that? Stick with those same
So
coins.
yeah, I'm definitely going to keep up with that. The diversity of Ethereum,
Okay.
Flux, and Ergo. I think when Ethereum goes to proof of stake, whenever it'll be.
Mm.
I used to think it was close, but now I'm a firm believer in like we're a year or two out, and we're just going to get drugged through the dirt the entire way,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate because I'm a firm believer in like let's just rip that band-aid off
Yeah.
the mining community needs to move on past Ethereum. It's a natural evolution, and I'd rather us have 3 or 4 or 5 different coins that are kind of top of the list versus one. So for me, I'm going to keep mining Ethereum Classic, Ergo, and Flux because I do think those 3 will juggle that higher profitability slot. And then once Ethereum goes to proof of stake, so I can't do ETH to Bitcoin, I may look into some alternatives.
Okay.
I do have an ASIC miner that I have off right now, an S19J Pro. I just can't handle the power until I move into my shed. Yeah, all those rigs that are on Ethereum will swap to Ergo and Flux, based off of NVIDIA or AMD.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking as well, is just take whatever AMD cards, just put them on Ergo and let them have fun there. And then, you know, you sort of touched on it briefly. What do you reckon on the proof of stake timeline? Do you think it's this year, or are you sort of penciling in?
I don't. It's really funny. So I used to think it was close. I used to like, oh my gosh, we're a month out, we're 2 months out, 3 months out, and now it's like, man, those devs, they don't give a date at all at this point. Like they wouldn't even dare give a date. They're literally riding it. And I think all this Ethereum like proof of stake hype has died down. But the downside is now we as miners are left in this limbo where it's like people are constantly like, oh, I don't want to buy that because of proof of stake. And it's like, wait, do we have a date? No. Do we have a month? Do we have a quarter? We got nothing. So it's like that argument is so rough. So I've gotten to the point where like I wrote off Ethereum about 6 months ago. Like I just was like, I can't live on this edge. It's like I need to make decisions for the future. So if I mine based off the fact that Ethereum's already there at proof of stake, then great. I just keep moving forward with it.
Okay. I think you touched briefly on, I guess the next question that I wanted to ask is, you know, you shared, obviously watched a couple of your videos. How's that working out? I think the latest one is all of the vents on the side. I think Jump sort of helped you with that. So how is that going, and when is that Bitcoin miner getting in there?
I like it. So yeah, it is definitely my pet project, but it's something that I am very much not rushing because I have a place for everything to mine right here next to me. It's all off right now. It's all off when I record. I got to turn it all off because it's so loud. But so I have a place that I'm currently mining everything. So it's not like I'm stuck with that. The only thing that's not mining is my S19J Pro, which would be great on Bitcoin right now. But the shed's moving along great. I actually have my electrician coming out tomorrow to connect me to the panel. We're doing all the wiring inside. So ideally tomorrow, I literally, which would be Friday or Thursday, I could start mining out of it, but I'm not going to. And the reason being is like I still want to work on the floor. I'm going to epoxy the floor. And I still need to secure it to the ground, and I want to put lattice around it so to keep critters out. So like my goal is to dot my I's and cross my T's. Like I want it to be perfect so that when I have rigs in there, I'm not like, oh, I want to work on it, or I need to cut this hole, or do like, I don't want to do any of that. I want it to be perfectly done. So my guess is sometime in the next 2 weeks, that I'll be putting in the rigs and getting mining is my goal at this point.
Okay. And like, you know, in the room next door, the big project of yours with all the AC Infinity extractors and stuff like that. And how is that dealing with the heat in the summer? Because, you know, we're on different sides of the world. It's winter here, so I'm smiling all day long. But you know, I know there's a lot of guys sweating.
Yes. So down here, currently, like today's temperature was like 95 degrees Fahrenheit, with 70% humidity. So if it goes above 90, I can't run all the rigs. It heats my house too much. Like the house just, the humidity gets too high. The heat's too much. So traditionally I can run about 75% of my rigs in there, and it works out fine. But like I got an AC in the other room, just cooling the basement to get by and everything. And like that room is getting me by for the summer so I can keep mining. So it's great. It ideally shines in the fall and the winter for me, because then I could flip around 2 of the fans and I can bring in that cold air. And then it's awesome. I seal it off. It's completely sealed off on its own, and it's self-enclosed. So it's bringing in cold air with 2 8-inch inline fans, and then it's sucking out as well. And so it's like great. It's its own little ecosystem in there. The nice thing is like even when it's freezing outside, it's just that I can turn down the fans and keep it like
Yeah.
60 or 70 in there degrees
Yeah.
Fahrenheit. So my plan is to still use that room for some of my open air rigs,
Okay.
versus putting all my enclosed stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't want to use, I want to literally cut down to like a fourth of what's in there right now, is kind of my goal, and
Okay.
then still use it. It's definitely overkill. It's one of
Yeah.
those, man, I wish I knew what I knew now, like 2 years ago. I'll tell you what.
It's always like that, right? You know, everybody. Unfortunately, you see something, you hear it, but
Yeah.
you physically have to do it yourself to get the aha moments. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I shouldn't have done this, or I shouldn't
Oh,
have done that type
yes.
thing. So, but I mean, that's like lessons that everybody just should get, and that's why, you know, I've actually got
Yep.
a guy that I met on Hawks, one of Hawks streams.
Okay.
I was like, oh no, I'm in Australia as well. I was like, oh, he's in Australia, so he came around.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so you know, I told him, and he had the same idea. He wanted a new guy wanting to start mining, right? So I told him this is probably the best time. You're not going to get sucked into any hype. This is as bad as it's going to get. So it can probably only get
Yep.
maybe a little bit worse, but you know, the upside's going
Yeah.
to be good. But anyway, I told him he wants to start with an open air rig, and he's ordered some optominers, and I told him that's probably the best thing. Just go and learn about risers. Learn about powering risers and what can go wrong, and all of that stuff before you you climb in this luxury optominer where you just put things in, close it up, and off it goes.
So easy. Yep. And it works, and it's done. Yep, 100%.
So good. Now some of the other stuff. Okay, so shed 2 weeks away, and then you know, I'm super excited to see how that goes. Now, what I was curious about is the fans. Will they automatically adjust based on the temperature inside of the shed? So would they then suck more in and then push more out, or you know, is that manually that you would have to operate that?
No, it's a good question. So all the intakes are passive, so I don't have to do anything with the intakes. So they're just straight up gable vents with filters. But on the exhaust side, AC Infinity sells something called a Controller 67, and it's a Bluetooth smart device that 2 fans can plug into. And it actually comes with a 25-foot cable that's a thermometer. So you can run that up and hang that like right in the middle of the room. And then on that, you can configure it with your phone. So you can say like, when it hits this temperature or this humidity, put the fans at this speed. And then when it hits this temperature, this humidity at this speed. So that's kind of how I'll operate things in there. I'll probably, my goal is to run them at 30% all the time. And then, you know, we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got to beef them up to 50. I really don't know, but I went complete overkill. Like literally I went, because everything I learned from my mining room was like, when I think I know what I need, double it. And it's because it's like, great, if I double it in the shed and then I run these things at 30%, all right, cool, great. Like, but you know, I would rather have that than the headache of like, oh, I need to buy another one and another one and another one. It's like, nope. So when I was building that and I was actually engineering it out with AC Infinity, chatting with them about it, they were like, well, how many do you want of these things? I'm like, just give me 4. I'm like, let's just do 4 and be done with it, and then I never have to think about it again. And that's exactly my goal.
Have you figured out how many GPUs do you think you can get in there? This is again just curiosity. You know, how much do you think?
I haven't yet. It's really funny because like I have people that comment on like those videos. Those videos. My goal is like 1 video a week, and everybody keeps interested in the shed, and I like it. But I've had people that are like, "Why didn't you build a shed 4 times the size?" Like blah blah blah. And I'm like, I could have, yeah, maybe, but I'm like, 1, I don't have the electric to support something 4 times the size, with a 200 amp panel. I mean, I'll literally max out my panel after this, at home. And then on top of that, like space in my yard. And then finally, it's also just like, you know, if I fill that and max that out, it's like, okay, now we're talking about a warehouse, guys. So it's like this, I can't do this at home anymore. Like, let's be honest here. So, yeah, I mean, right now I have all my GPUs. I'm at 86 graphics cards, with what I have now, with a number. I mean, I'm probably somewhere around 10 mini ASIC miners and a Jazz miner and the ASIC miner. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And my guess is if I really wanted to compact things in there and go like all server cases, because that's going to be the best way, like for to fit it all in there. I'm thinking maybe 2 rows of 10, so maybe it's like 20 octominers total
Okay.
could fit in there, if I wanted to. My limitation, I don't think I'm going to be limited by like airflow. Like I don't
Okay.
think my cooling or heating is going
Yeah.
to be the issue. I think it's going to be power.
Power.
I think it's just
Okay.
going to be like I'm going to hit. I think I'm going to hit my max power,
Okay.
because I mean that ASIC miner is 3,300 watts,
Yeah.
and so
That's,
for 30 amp 240 volt, I'm going to have 3 of those in there.
yeah.
So one of them is going to be 65% ASIC miner. So I
Mm,
think my power is really going to be my limitation. But
okay.
hey, if I can get stuff out of my basement, I am thrilled. Like, bring it on. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's nice to have a dedicated area to put your stuff, and I think the way that you're doing it now is probably the best way because you're getting it all sorted out. Make sure it's got overkill cooling, and if it's working
Yep.
now in the summer, you're probably never gonna have an issue. Then it's just the amount of stuff that's in
Oh
there.
yeah.
As you mentioned, if it's a power issue, you can't really do anything about that necessarily. I mean, there's probably only X amount that you can get domestically in anyway before the
Yeah.
municipality or whoever comes asking questions, what are you actually doing here? So
Yeah, I mean now's not really the time, to like be buying additional like electric
yeah,
services like to the house or anything like that. So yeah, that's definitely my goal. I mean, I don't plan to expand outside of that shed or this mining room within the bear market.
okay,
We need to get back to a bull market and the
yeah,
profitability to really be able to afford something like that.
yeah. No, that's fair enough. Now, different topic away from your shed,
Mhm.
and again, I'm super interested, and I guess everybody is. But anyway, we'll watch your videos for that. Now, a couple of like GPU specific stuff. What's your favorite brand of GPUs in NVIDIA and AMD? Seeing that you've got a nice mix of both.
Uh Yeah. So AMD, I'm a huge fanboy of the Polaris cards. My favorite one would have to be the Sapphire Nitros.
Okay,
They are by far the
rock solid.
best workhorse. I mean, the 12 that I bought originally, I still have mining, and I bought them from a miner. So like I've had them running nonstop for 2 years. They were on Raven Coin. Now they're on Ethereum Classic as of January, and they're just workhorses.
Yeah.
They're easy to work on. The fans snap in and out. It's literally it's a miner's dream. So that's for AMD. And then on the NVIDIA side of things, I'd probably say EVGA at this point. And
Okay.
if I have to pick a model, I'd probably pick there too. Even the 2060 Super is probably my favorite card on that side of the world.
Okay. And then worst, I guess
Oh,
probably know the answer
worse
of
is a
that.
thousand percent Zotac. I mean, I have a few Zotacs left, and I would all be for trading them up to somebody. I just like, here, you want to trade? Like, take these things because
Yeah.
they run way too hot, and all around they're just a hotter card, and their fans are garbage. I mean, I
Yeah.
have one Zotac. I've replaced the fans 3 times already. It's just
Okay.
like holy
Three
cow.
times. One card. One
Three
card.
times, one card in 2 years.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
it's
not.
like it's like,
That's
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my word. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to be done with Zotacs.
okay. No, no, fair enough. I make a point of not touching a Zotac card at all. Now,
Yeah, smart.
what is the most common question you get asked? Either, I mean, you've got a fantastic Discord. You're obviously on Twitter. Your videos, people make comments on. So, what is the most common question that you get on any of those
Most
platforms?
common question I still get even today is like, how profitable is that, or how
Okay.
much can I make per day? So like that one was really big during like the bull run. Like
Yeah.
everybody was like, all right, well, what does that make per day? And it's really interesting. So like what I've learned as a miner is just the fact of, especially the content creating. I've more recently, probably in the last 6 months, stopped really discussing like daily profitability,
Oh.
because it's all relative to like when the my dog's like under my feet messing with me.
No, it's fine.
It really comes down to like when that end user or viewer is watching the video. So
Yeah.
like you're watching this during the bull market, okay, and like this GPU was making $4, $5 a day. I mean, it was
Mm,
super profitable. It was like awesome, banging. That person watches that video today,
yeah.
and they're like, and then they go in, and then it's so funny. They go and buy that graphics card, and then they're like, why am I not making $5 a day? And it's like, because you're watching a video from a year and a half ago, and the crypto market and the economy is nowhere in that spot anymore. So like that's probably the biggest question I get. It's just like and I'd say the second question on that one is a lot of private DMs that I'll get that will be hey, can I pay you to build me that? And the answer is no. Like I don't do consulting, I don't do consultations, I don't do custom builds. Like I don't
Yeah.
do any of that. One, I don't have the time for it, and two, I don't want the liability
Yeah.
behind it. So but I get that a lot. Just like I can't build this. Can you build it for me? And the answer is no.
That's amazing, that people ask that. I
Yep.
mean, they don't even know where you
Yep.
stay. How are you going to build this for them? You
Oh
know,
yeah. Well, that's the hard part. As a miner, it's like there's so much value in building your own rigs because then you
yes.
understand how to troubleshoot them, you understand how to maintain them. The second you have someone else build it for you and then it stops working, which is inevitable with mining, like
Yes.
mining rigs are flaky. They
Yeah.
are flaky. It is not a set it, forget it, and come back 3 years later. It's more like set it and come back a week later. Like and so that is really the case. And so there's more value for someone to learn how to build it than not at all.
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally agree with that. And, I maybe go one step further. I hate the word passive income because how passive is it really if I'm having to fiddle with overclocks and changing fans
Yeah.
and thermal pad? There's nothing, the word passive doesn't really exist. There's lots of, you get lucky and stuff just works. Maybe it's a 580 and it's been working for 3 years. You haven't touched it. And that's probably the best and is definitely
Mhm.
not the norm. But
Nope.
yeah, otherwise, there's always something that happens, right? There's new miner releases, your
Mhm.
temperature changes, behaves differently, power
Yeah.
spikes. There's all sorts of stuff that goes wrong. And the sooner you build it yourself and figure it out, the better. And then, on that, what is the weirdest question that you get then that somebody has asked you?
Um, some questions are more like a hey, like I had one that was like hey, I'd like to fly you out, to where I live, and
Really?
like yeah, and it's like I want, can you help me with my rigs and my airflow and stuff like that, and it was just like wait, when did I become like this like private service type of deal? And then like yeah, so I think that was kind of the weirdest one. That was like, hey, are you free like next week? I'd love to fly you. And I was like,
What?
nope, I'm good. Yeah, it was just like yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Like, come on. Like, there's so many, like, that's the crazy thing to people. It's like, guys, there's so many YouTube videos out there.
Yeah.
Like, I always tell people, like, spend 3 months
Yeah.
and watch YouTube videos before you even commit $1.
Yeah.
Because in 3 months you can consume so much content
Yeah.
where like when you go to buy hardware, you feel so much more knowledge. I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I watched YouTube videos for 3 to 6 months before I even made my first video, let alone got into mining,
Yeah.
because it was like there's so much out there. Like even if it's outdated content,
Yeah.
building a mining rig hasn't changed. So like there's so many videos. I mean, I think I have on my own at least 25 videos on building a mining rig on my own, let alone times that by how many other fantastic content creators that have them out there.
Yeah. No, there's so much stuff there. But the thing is, people don't wanna do that, right? It's easier to
Nope.
to potentially fly you to them to come and sort it out
Yeah.
for
It's
them,
like,
right?
no, I'm good. Yep.
Okay, so that's a weird one. Now the next thing is, with exchanges getting wrecked left, right, and
Mhm.
center, and them getting bailouts. So, what are you doing to keep your crypto safe at the moment?
Mhm. Yeah, so I don't keep any crypto on exchanges at all. The only time it touches an exchange is like when I'm ready to cash it out that day.
Okay.
My crypto I use for more often transactions is Exodus wallet and Zelcore wallet. They pretty much have everything I want. And then anything long term, I have a Nano Ledger X
Yep.
that I use. And that's where like a lot of my Bitcoin's going. I have some XRP in there as well. And that's just sitting in that wallet. One, it's a good like almost like checking and saving account. Like, all right, I don't want to touch that. I want to leave it.
Yeah.
Versus some of my other ones, I'm like, all right, cool, I can use. And so yeah, I only transfer things to an exchange when I'm ready to cash them out. And I haven't done that in quite some time. I mean, not in, I'd say 8 months maybe since I've
Yeah.
actually cashed out to fiat. One, because just the value at this point, it's
Yeah.
not really worth it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I protect myself, keep it off
Okay.
exchanges. There's only really two exchanges I use. In the past, I've used KuCoin
Yeah.
for Flux and Urco to convert it to Bitcoin. And
Yeah.
then I throw everything, for me in the US, everything over to CoinDesk or Coinbase.
Coinbase.
And
Yeah.
then, yep, and then just convert it to US dollar over there, and then
Okay.
get it over to my bank account from there. So yeah, that's kind of how I operate with exchanges.
Cool. And any DeFi? Do you trust DeFi at all?
No
Nothing.
DeFi.
Okay.
It is not that I don't trust it. It's not that there's not value in it.
Yeah.
Granted, it's just one of those that DeFi is one of those ones where like there is only so much time in a day that I
Yeah.
can consume content and knowledge and make content and mining. And it's like DeFi is its own subsection, I would say, of crypto. And there's lots of great content out there. It's just that's the same thing as NFTs. Like it is not up my alley, not
Yeah.
bashing it, but it is just not my expertise. So I can't even speak intelligently to it.
No, I'm sort of on the same page. When I restarted mining, it's like, oh, DeFi, what the hell is this? So
Yep.
yeah, I think I've got like $50, just whatever I've mined. It's like, okay,
Okay.
how does this thing work? So I just put stuff there. I'm earning nothing. I was like, okay, now what? Let me just
Yep.
leave this. It just looks like another unsecured thing that potentially could be hacked. But I mean, what do I know? I haven't done any research, so I try and stay away
Yep.
from it. The next thing I wanted to ask is, how do you de-stress from crypto? Obviously you've got a day job, fantastic
Yep.
YouTube channel that I'm pretty sure I've done a couple of videos. It consumes a lot of time. So what do you do
Just a
to
little bit.
yeah? So what do you do to de-stress away from work, away from crypto, or people
Sure.
DMing you for all sorts of nonsense? So what do you like doing to de-stress?
For me, I was a video gamer before
Okay.
I was a content creator and crypto miner, and so that's really where I find a lot of that enjoyment, which works out really really well. So I don't mind. I used to be involved in a lot more games, and then I definitely took a huge break from it, and then now it's like a nice little escape.
Okay.
I try to reward myself with it after like, okay, cool, I got a video all prepped, ready to go for tomorrow. Now I can play, like 2 games of StarCraft, or I can play
Okay.
PUBG or something like that. Like
All
just
right.
something to do. Yeah, so that's kind of for my de-stressor.
Now, when you play that game, is that with a 3090 or what's in your desktop? That is obviously not
Yeah,
mining.
so yeah, I still have my 2080 Super.
Okay.
So I'm running a Ryzen 9 3900X,
Okay.
64 gigs of memory with a 2080 Super EVGA, and that thing rocks it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many times I've been like, oh, I need to mine on this thing. Like, let's should we get some flux going on this thing, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, no. Like I have 86 other graphics cards doing work. I'm like, this one is just for this. So
Uh,
this is where I do my day job right here. This
cool.
is where I content create. This is where I edit. This is where I create my thumbnails. So I do everything from this rig.
Okay.
I am all for like, nope, this is just for this. Like that's it.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't even own a 3090. I wouldn't even recommend it at this point in the market. They're just not worth the price. But yeah, I am definitely
Okay.
like I don't like I have and I have like 3070s and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but they're mining. Like
Yeah.
I don't need a 3070
Yeah.
in this rig because my 2080 Super, it plays everything I want to play.
Yeah.
And yeah, 3070 would be better, but like it's like, do I really need it? It's like, nah, just
Nah.
mine with that.
Yeah. No. Fair enough. That makes total sense. Now,
Yep.
the other thing, obviously I watched your videos, and I remember, your electrician was, doing work for you in exchange for knowledge because he wanted to mine.
Yep.
So I'm curious, did he ever start mining or not yet?
So it's so funny. He has not started mining, but
Okay.
he's bought hardware.
All
So
right.
like he bought it. He bought an octo miner. He
Yeah.
waited till they had the quantity of one. So that was the last time, I think, or the time
Yes.
before that
Okay.
quantity of one. And then he started buying up 3090s.
Oof.
And this was like 6 months ago. So he was buying 3090s at like peak prices. Like, and I very much was like, dude, bring over your rig. Let's get this up and running and mining. And he's like, oh no, I want to have 83090s first in this thing. And I'm like, all right, like fine. But now 3090s, man, you can find them everywhere. You can get some great prices on them. So he's kind of fallen out of it a little bit because like now the prices aren't as good. And I'm like pushing him. I'm like, right now is the time. Like he's got like 3 or 4 3090s just sitting there with the Octo Miner. And I'm like, just mine with them.
Yeah.
Like literally, let's just get them mining. I'm like, it could take me under an hour to get you up and running.
Yeah.
And I even offered, I'm like, hey, dude, like let's put it in my shed. Like let's just throw it in my shed. I'll host it for you. So like he's coming over tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm gonna bust his balls about it too.
Okay.
And be like, dude, why aren't I mean seriously, get these things mining. And it'll be the same case. Like he's gonna help me do all this wiring.
Okay.
And it's gonna be like, all right, what do you need, dude? Like let me help you, you know.
Oh, that is so amazing. We was just asking to bring the Octominer with the cards when he comes over and just set them up and see that it works.
Yep. It'll be done in no time at all. Trust me. I think it's one of those things where I understand the value of having like all the GPUs and doing it all at once. Sure. But when you're like dragging this out, it's like, dude, let's just get this up and mining. And then once every like 2 or 3 months, you can buy another 3090 if you want. Like then just buy it, you know, and go from there. So now's the best time to be mining. I mean, it's if you get into mining right now, you're not looking at profitability.
Yes.
You're like it. Now I was spoiled. Like when I got into mining, it was when the market was taking off. That was when like a Dogecoin popped. And it was like, that was the time to get into mining. It was like, oh my gosh, like anything you plugged in and mined with was profitable at that time. And so I was spoiled because I was like, oh my gosh, everything is worth money. Like this is crazy. Like we're taking off. Versus if you get into mining now, you have more of a respect for mining because you're like, all right, I'm getting into mining, looking at this as an investment and I'm speculating it's going to go up. It's like, man, doing that now, you are so much more content. You're not looking at profitability. You're not looking at, you know, like, oh, 1 year break even. It's like, no, like, how about like 2 or 3 year break even at this point? And the nice thing is now just fill your bags, build up those bags, hold them. And man, next bull market, you'll be singing.
Oh, especially with the difficulty dropping, right? There's a lot of people switching off.
Yeah.
So, you know, people shouldn't fixate on the dollar amount because, you know, that is depressing. Just look at how much yield you're getting. Are you getting every day a little bit more because, you know, somebody else might have been switching off? And I know it's sad. A lot of people are switching off and power rates are increasing, but, you know, you could buy the coin as well, right? So there's always an option for anyone. Okay, so
to give you an idea on difficulty real quick. So my 470s that I bought, those 12 of those that we talked about, when I got them 2 years ago, I was on Raven Coin and 12 of them was making me about 10 Raven Coin a day.
Okay.
I now have that 6500 XT that I did a video on that I have. When I put one GPU, the 6500 XT on Raven Coin, it makes 10 Raven Coin a day on its own. So that's a great example of difficulty change over a 2-year period where coin has dropped so dramatically to start with. Now difficulty is down. So it's like now 1 4 gig card makes as much as 12 2 years ago. That's like a great example of difficulty and higher yield. Like it's insane.
Yeah, that's it. You just need to look at how much yield are you getting per day. Is that getting more? Then you know you're doing well. But you know it's as, you know, people get sucked in with the dollar amount, right? So it is hard, but if you stick out longer, it's better in the long run, I guess. Now. The other thing that I wanted to ask you was, I know you mine Helium as well. So how many times a day do you open up your Helium app to have a look and see how many witnesses? Oh, really? Once a day?
Once. So for me, I'm really opening it once a day now.
Okay.
And it's really just checking. I have 2 Helium miners.
Okay.
And I'm checking to see like what is their profitability. So I average about $4 a day total between 2 Helium miners. One of them, the one I have here in my house that I've done most of my videos on, is my home run hitter. It's like over $3 a day. My other one is if it does $1 a day, it's like, ooh, good day type of deal, but it's as to be expected. The location's not the best. It's not at the best altitude, like all of that. So it's like, okay, that's okay. I'm all right with that. Like just set it and leave it. So at some point here, I want to pick up another one. And my parents have a vacation home and I'd like to put one there. I mean, ideally, I could get a whole bunch of these and set them up, especially now they're much easier to work with. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Have you looked into the 5G component of that? Because I think it's available in the US.
I have. Yeah, MNTD has like a conversion kit now that you can
Okay.
convert your Helium lo-fi miners into 5G,
Okay.
or you could start looking at some of these 5G ones. But if we've learned anything as miners, it's like, one, not to trust the Helium developers, and two, it's like we're not, we thought getting into Helium was an easy price for entry. It was like 400, $500. All right, cool. But when you're talking 5G now, it's like a $5,000 price point or
Yeah.
something stupid
Yeah.
US. And it's like, okay, fool me once.
Uh,
Okay, fool me twice. No, no, no,
uh,
no. We're not even messing with it. So yeah, I will not be touching 5G. I know most people will not be. That is a hard pill to swallow with very little faith.
oh, and it's so hard because like you get burnt like that. And at least in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, I think 5G is the way to go because
Mm-hmm.
there's
Yeah.
real value in that. I really don't know how many people are using the LoRaWAN network for. I'm talking in real daily use, unless you're in a
Oh
factory with
yeah, yeah.
sensors and stuff like that. That's a different other ball
Mm-hmm.
game. But I'm, here where I am in the burbs, what am I going to use who's going to use it here?
Yeah.
So
Who's using it? Yeah.
no one. I can 100% sure there's no one using it. But 5G, there's a tower everywhere. Everybody's got a cell phone, so that's real use.
Yeah.
But five grand is a lot for that. I think it's that CRBS, or I don't know what the word is, but the
Yeah.
actual receiver thingy is what's so expensive apparently.
It's crazy. It really is.
Anyway, next question is, with you now being mining for but what is the best lesson that you've learned so far in your journey?
It's a good one. Best lesson. Oh, you got me on that. That's a good question. So I think for me, it would probably be starting slow.
Okay.
So like I started with 4 gig cards, and I'm actually really happy I did.
Yeah.
Not only from the content perspective, because like when I first started, everybody was talking about 3000 series cards, and all these other big miners were content creators were pushing 3000 series cards, and like at that time, man, they were making really good money off of YouTube, let alone off of crypto. And so I was like, I'm going to be different, and I wanted to start at kind of like that everyday miners point. So
Okay.
that's why I went with 4 gig cards. That's why I still have 4 gig cards, because it's like that's my bread and butter. Like it's
Yeah.
like what I got started with.
Yeah.
And it also allowed me to get into it without overspending. I
Yeah.
mean, my 12 470s 2 years ago were $120 each. I got them from one guy, $120 each for. So I was like, all right, cool. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't breaking the bank.
Yeah.
By the time I was all in invested, it was like maybe $1,500. I had everything, and I could get the rig up and running. And that at least allowed me to like really learn, like kind
Yeah.
of like you had said originally, like there's huge value in being able to build your own mining
Yeah.
rig, troubleshoot your own mining rig. So I think that goes hand in hand with like start small.
Mm.
One GPU, two GPUs on a rig. And I think that's the best thing that I can recommend as to what I learned.
Awesome. That's definitely good advice that I can vouch for. And then, what is the worst idea that you've had in mining?
This mining room right here. This mining. Trust me, if I knew like that I would end up here, like, and who would have thought, like a guy that had like my computer in my basement, unfinished basement with like, a handful of GPUs, and I was singing. But no, I mean, this I if I was to do this all over again, because I wanted to finish my basement anyway, I would have never have tried to build a mining room. Like trying to build a room to do mining is the worst idea ever.
That's hard.
Like it's so hard to contain. Like it's heat, it's electric. I mean, in the hottest of days, if I have everything running in there, it's 109 degrees. Like that's a hot room. And so and the reason is really comes down to it is like you need constant air coming in and constant air going out. And so if I was to redo this, I would have bought something similar to like what Chump Change bought, which was the really big grow tent.
Yeah.
Like it's a room.
Yeah.
Like the grow tent that Chump Change bought, the Vivo Sun one, was the size of my mining room, if not longer. And so it was like that would have been perfect. I could have built my basement. I built my basement over the last 2 years. I could have built the basement and had an area for the grow tent.
Yeah.
That area could be repurposed later.
Yeah.
And then having the air coming in. I mean, man, I bought like 6-inch inline fans. Biggest mistake ever. Like, I'm talking with another content creator now. I had a call with him today, and he's getting into grow tent stuff. And I was like, don't even look at anything smaller than 8-inch. I was like, it doesn't move your air. So like for me, it would have been grow tent with 8-inch inline fans. I could have saved so much money, so much time. And granted, it was content, which was like, all right, cool. Like more videos for the channel, more things for people to learn from my mistakes. But when I tell people now and they're like, oh, I'm going to build a room too, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm like, get a grow tent, get a grow tent with boatloads of incoming air and external air. That was the best thing that I came up with, was like bringing in air, going through a filter, throwing it into the grow tent, and then sucking it out. And it's like, if I went that route, like that's so much easier too. Though. It's like a grow tent is not that expensive. You know, I mean, maybe by the time you're all done with the grow tent, you might be like $300 or $400 in with all the inline fans and everything. With the grow tent, you get everything designed. If you got a window, you're singing. You know, don't even bother sucking in air from your home. And then your grow tent can evolve into a shed.
Yes.
And now that now that I am on the road to this shed, it's like, this is where but like, who would have thought? Like when I started out with like 12 GPUs, it's like, oh, I'm going to need a shed with like massive airflow. It's like, I never would have thought that, like ever. But yeah, my wife would appreciate it just going that route instead of dealing with this in here too. So
yeah, but if you look at it, right, the grow tent serves the same purpose, right? It's a contained unit, captures all the heat. It's got an intake and an outlet, and it's designed to get cold air in and take out the hot air wherever you can put it, not in your house type thing. It just needs to get out there.
The nice thing is you can take a grow tent and then fold it up in like a matter of minutes, and you're done. Okay, great. Versus like a room. Like I was talking on the mining roundtable the other day, and it was like, all right, so now I got this room here, and it's like, at some point, like if I'm not mining in this room anymore, what am I gonna do with this? Like this is literally, I'm gonna have to gut this room down to the studs and just redo it. And to be like, it's a closet. Now it's just a closet. And it's like, and I'm gonna have to pay somebody to repair the side of my house where I got all these holes in the house for like my exhaust. It's like, oh man, it's like, what was I thinking? And how did my wife ever let me do this? It's really, yeah, like totally.
I think everybody that's into mining, their wives are saints to deal with our nonsense. I can't tell you, I've got like 100%. Power cables here, plugging this out there, putting this in. No, you can't do that. That's going to trip the power. You leave this thing, or let me know when you're doing it. No, put it there. So no, they go through a lot to deal with all of this.
100%.
All of these hobbies.
Oh yeah.
Now, the last difficult question, or I don't say difficult question, but the second last question I've got is, what's your goals for this bear market? For 2022, and I'm of the belief it's going to be 2023 still bear market. But what do you want to achieve? Do you have like an X amount of? Do you want in your bag of this coin, or do you want to have 10 Bitcoin, or do you want to have a massive warehouse, or just have 200 GPUs? What is your goals for the bear market?
Yeah, so all great questions. So I don't think in my mind I have any set goals when it comes to like I want to get an X amount in my bags. My goal is really just to continue those bags growing, even if it's slow. Ergo, Flux, Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin. I want to keep all of those moving. So like every day I log into my wallets and I see a deposit, and it's like that's a win to me, regardless of the amount. And so I think, for me, over the next year or so during this bear market, I agree with you. I think we're looking at probably 2024 before we see a flip in the bear market with the economy, especially with U.S. elections and things like that. I think a lot of that's going to come into play. But for me, I think after I start to move stuff into my shed, I'm going to start to look at efficiencies. So it's like, okay, I have a set amount of power. So now I need to make the most of my power. What does that look like? So I see myself, it's gonna be really hard for me to like sell some of my older cards that literally are netting zero. But it's like, okay, now that I'm kind of situated, it's like, because for me, I haven't bought anything in the last few months. I think it was like 4 months ago, I bought some more 600s off of Newegg, and that was like the last thing I bought. And I made a promise to myself, like, I'm not going to buy anything more until I get the shed up and running. So at that point, it's like, okay, I'm up and running. Now I want to take some of my less efficient cards and upgrade them. So I
Okay.
think I'll phase out a lot of like my 10 series card. Like I still have some 1060s, some 1080s, 580s, you know, my 470s. I think I'll probably say goodbye to those. The
Okay.
hard part's going to be is like selling those. It's
Oh
like,
no.
man,
Nah.
when I fought for like a $300 580 and now I got to sell it for like $100, it's like, damn, like
No.
come on, like
Nah.
so that's going to be the hardest part. I mean, or honestly, I may literally just pack them away and be like, all right, when they become profitable again, you know, like
Yeah.
I may not even need to sell those. It may just be like a, I'm not going to mine with them,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to pack them away.
Yeah.
And then you know what, in 2 years from now we either go two directions. Either they're profitable again and I can mine with them,
Yeah.
awesome, or they go up in value.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
like, you know how it is as a miner. Part of like the part of the like the value and the fun, at least for me, is like buying secondhand
Oh.
cards at an amazing price. And like I'm all for buying locally, so like going out, meet the person, buying the card, like you get that trophy, you're like, yes, I got this for an amazing deal. You take it home, you clean it, you get it mining. It's like, but then to be like, all right, I'm gonna sell it now. It's like, wait, what? Like, oh yeah. So
Oh.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, now I think you and me are the same in that department.
Yep.
I love nothing more than opening Facebook Marketplace on my phone every single
Yep.
day and looking for
I
a
won't
bargain.
look at it. I won't look at it. I won't look at Facebook Marketplace. Not
uh,
allowed.
I
Not allowed.
I'm on there all the time and I get rejected like nobody's business. And you know,
Good for you.
I was telling my wife this morning. I was like, I wish I can just. I can't remember what that movie's name was, but it was like fast forward movie where there was a remote where you can,
Oh
fast forward
yeah.
time. But
With
anyway,
Adam Sandler. Yeah.
yeah. So I told my wife this morning, I wish that I can just fast forward time because I know how this thing is going to play out, but the secondhand market doesn't know that yet, type thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm trying to pick up as many 3070s and 2080 Ti's is the
Smart.
one that I'm gunning for. But
Oh, it's a hard one.
and
Yeah.
people are selling them for more than what a 3080 is. And I'm like, what are you thinking? You know, so
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
typing this guy and I'm offering him the 3070 type price, and he's just like, what are you smoking? I'm like, what are you smoking? It's just,
Yeah.
but there's, you sort of have to let the market play out and be patient.
Got to play the game. Got to play the game. 100%. Yeah. I mean, trust me, I don't open Facebook Marketplace because like I know the trouble I get myself in, and it's like it was like when we were in like the height of the market, it was like every other day I'm to my wife and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go meet someone and buy another graphics card. The worst day was like I'm meeting two people and I'm buying two graphics. It was like, wait, what? Like unbelievable. I mean, but now it's hard because now we're in this bear market and like you know spending that kind of money, and then but the nice thing is like now's the time to double down. So honestly, I mean, if you have the additional capital to invest, now's the time to double down. If you're willing to ride out 2 years, 3 years, like, and just mine with it and you're good with it. But if you're like, I want to make that mentality of like a year ago where it was like, I'm going to mine and I got to make it back in a year. It's like, that's gone. Like gone are the days of break even in 365 days.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's not happening. Now, the last section is quickfire.
Sure.
So you're not allowed
Got
to give any reasoning. It's just
all right. I like it.
one hit. So AMD or NVIDIA?
AMD.
Awesome. 3070 or a 6800?
3070.
A 4000 or a 3070?
3070.
Asus or EVGA?
EVGA. All day long.
Okay. Awesome. Server case or a open air frame?
Server case, 100%.
Cool. Now, a server PSU or a ATX PSU?
Server PSU all day long.
Oh, really?
Okay. All day long.
Okay.
I can't give any answers. Server.
Cool.
All day long.
Octominer or Polo Miner?
Octominer, 100%.
Okay. I probably know this answer already. BTC or ETH? You already made your alliance clear.
Bitcoin all the way. Bitcoin all the way.
Windows or Mac?
Windows. What's a Mac? What's a Mac?
Okay, no, fair enough. So, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl, 100%.
Night owl.
I'm all out crazy hours a night. I shouldn't be.
ASICs or GPUs?
Ooh, so GPUs at heart. GPUs at heart.
Okay. Marvel or DC?
So that's a hard one. But it goes back to DC for me.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars, 100%.
Okay. Single player games or multiplayer games?
Only multiplayer.
Okay. And then, new GPUs or secondhand? Again, probably know the
Oh,
answer.
secondhand, 100%. I mean,
Cool.
it's that is a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, it's as much as like new cards have dropped, which is awesome.
Yeah.
When you're trying to squeeze at every penny,
Yeah.
it is like secondhand all the way. I mean, if you can get that secondhand card for a small portion, why not? Like, hey, and you could bargain there. I mean, that's the biggest one. Just like you had said too, it's like, man, I'm that same guy that comes in and offers I'm like 50%. And then and I mean, I got like a template like, hey, I can offer you this. This is all I got. I know, I don't want to disrespect you. Good luck with your sale. If it doesn't work out, I'm here with this price. I just put it all in one message and throw it at them. And I'm on to the next one. And then they get back to me and a lot of the times they're polite, no problem. I will, I'm going to see if I could sell it. I got some. Oh, no problem. You do you, man. And because you know what? It's just a graphics card. And there's going to be another one.
Yeah.
So it's like, instead of setting your heart on it, it's just like, offer 20 people 50%. And if one person takes it, great. Now you can take that other 50% and you can offer it to another person. It's like, now you get 2 cards for 1.
Yeah.
And it's like, why not? Like, what do you got to lose? Like,
exactly.
there's so many cards now. You're not even looking hard. Like, you're not even looking far anymore. They're everywhere.
And the amount of times that I've been rejected, and then 2 weeks down the track, that same guy comes back who is still interested. So
yeah. Oh yeah. And it's usually like no, I spent all my money. I'm sorry. Type of deal.
No, awesome. That was all the questions. I really appreciate you coming on and supporting a small
Absolutely.
guy. Is there anything that you want to plug? Any videos coming up or anything specific that people need to look out for?
Definitely. We got some more shed videos coming. My goal is 1 a week just to keep that project going. I love following that type of stuff myself on when people are doing projects and stuff. So like that's kind of where I've gone with that. Other than that, no, just the YouTube channel. And then if people are avid on Twitter, I'm big on Twitter. You can check me out at Hobbyist Miner right on Twitter as well.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.